I am not kicking against the goads.
You could be, though.
Well, I could be, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm going right along with the goads.
It's hard to kick against the goads.
Yeah, it is.
You find yourself.
But I'm definitely not doing that.
You could find yourself in the belly of a whale.
Well, that only happened once that we know of.
That you know of.
I mean, it could. It has happened.
Yeah.
For me, kicking against the goads would have been not having a child. I went right along with the goads.
Why would that be that for you?
Because we know that's what the Lord wants us to do. I kicked against the goads for years, man.
So you are admitting to your rebellion against the Lord.
Yeah. But I will.
You would have never called it that in the past.
But I don't know that exactly though, Blake, because I do not think it would have been a smart decision for anyone, including my son, my wife, and me, to have had children during my military career.
No, I don't think so.
I do not think that would have been a smart decision.
No.
So I don't know that maybe I wasn't kicking against the goads.
Well, you
maybe
did
I
for
was
a
just
spell.
listening to the Lord the whole time and just waiting until the right time.
You kicked against the goads for a spell because there was a time before now that would have been okay for you to have kids.
Well, I guess you can make a case for that.
Yeah, but
definitely not during my military career.
This time of your life was the right time.
Yeah. So don't come on this podcast this morning and accuse me of kicking against the stinking goads, man.
Well, it's odd that you came on it and said you did, and then said you didn't, all within 1 minute.
Well, yeah, I had to think about it. For a minute because I'm sitting down in this seat this morning, and all of you guys are bringing accusations against me.
I ain't said nothing against you.
I ain't either.
Don't drag me on your ship, Bubba.
I ain't either.
What's wrong with you?
You were agreeing with him, Cornbread.
The truth will stand when the world's on fire, Bubba.
And I know what you were thinking, Chili.
Did the Navy teach you to talk to people like that?
Yeah, I'm standing here this morning publicly in defense of myself here.
Don't laugh at that, Corn.
I don't know who taught you to talk to people like that. If it was the Navy or what.
I know.
But you're not going to talk to me like that.
Well, look, guys. Y'all ain't going to come up in here on a public show.
I went to college.
I understand that.
And
you graduated.
Yeah. Undergrad.
You got paperwork.
Undergrad. And I'll not be talked to like that. I'm a learned man.
Well, look, if y'all got something against me and the way I've done my life, y'all can come at me later on, but you're not going to do that right here on this public show.
You can take that up with the Lord.
I like your life, Bubba.
So that's what I got to say to y'all this morning. I'm going...
We're among considerable, significant pomp this morning over here. So watch how you talk.
Are you serious, dude? First you told me I was kicking against the goads. Now you're telling me I'm guilty of pomp?
Rolling in here like Bernice.
Gosh, dog.
Roll up in here like, who was it? Agrippa.
Yeah.
I brought you 100 rounds of 300 Win Mag
We
this
turned it
morning.
down.
You turned it down. Then you came over here and sat in this seat and accused me of kicking against the goads and of significant pomp.
You know, you do.
Boy, that's a one way to repay me for bringing you 100 rounds of 300 Win Mag.
You know, we got to really keep you honest around here.
Well, boys.
You're doing good, though. You've made a big turn.
I'm going to tell you
lately.
I'm going to tell you something right now. If you want to know what the truth will stand, this is the truth. I'm doing real good.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what else, the truth that'll stand, you do what you want.
Pretty much.
Don't he?
Yeah, he does do
Pretty
that.
much. Maybe that's why I do so good, because I pretty much just do what I want.
Not pretty much. You do.
It's not hard to do good when you pretty much do what you want, is it?
Say it. I do what I want.
No, I've thought about that too. I don't know if that's true.
He repented from that.
Yeah.
That was quite a bit of a prideful statement. I do say so myself, but I wasn't going to bring any more accusations against you this morning.
I thought about that too, and I don't even believe. I don't know that that's true.
You better hope it ain't.
Yeah. Well, everyone, welcome to the show this morning. We're glad to allow you into this conversation that's going on around here. This is how we grow around here. Blake brings accusations against me. Takes me a few weeks to think about them. Usually I figure out that he's probably right, and then I shift fire from there. We just came direct out of the wilderness. We're direct out of the wilderness into the podcasting seat. Pretty much. We got a few hours of sleep last night, but...
Did y'all sleep good?
I did.
I know you probably got a few sleeps, huh?
I got a couple hours of naps, yeah.
You chilly?
Oh, yeah.
Chilly, you didn't wake up with the craps or anything? Did your gut settle down?
I mean, I crapped twice, but that's normal.
In the night?
No, when I woke up.
Okay.
For the morning.
But you got through the night?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah.
We just came off of the basic course.
In the toilet.
Good. The basic course, Team 32. So we've run 32 of those missions, and it's the OG 3 of 7 project training mission. And we had a pretty unique team this past weekend.
Yeah.
They started off as Blake claims the worst basic course team ever.
It was one of.
Out of 32 teams.
The worst.
Now, I don't have a great memory, so I can't confirm what he's saying. And by the way, you haven't been on every basic course.
How many have I missed? 1 or 2?
2 or 3.
2 or 3, yeah.
It hasn't been 3 for sure.
I
think it's 1.
I've been
I
on.
know for a fact it's 2. Because it was back-to-back years, and I thought, good gosh.
What was the other one?
You're sick. It's a dog.
Why was?
Yeah, you went through that spell where you were sick all the time.
Yeah, okay.
I've been on every basic course mission since number 1.
The only one.
But the problem is I don't have a good memory. So I don't know if they were really the worst or not, but they definitely weren't doing good. And over the course of the mission, man, they really had a lot of growth.
Yeah.
They learned a lot of lessons, hard lessons, and man, they turned it around. And on the last day of the basic course,
they shine.
Man, they shine. They were just clicking off the miles, working together, just doing strong work. And so one of the key takeaways, or kind of the biggest moments for me at the basic course as an instructor, the biggest, I think, learning point for them that stood out to me was when they got into their camp on the second night and they set up their camp. That camp has to pass an inspection. And when we went and inspected their camp setup, there were some things wrong. All right. They didn't do it to a standard of excellence. And so what happens is there's repercussions for that. You got to get back on the trail. And by this time, these guys are pretty beat up, man. It's getting dark outside. They've been going for 12, 13 hours straight with 60-pound packs on their back through really, really hard terrain. And when they had to pack their stuff up and get back on the trail, their response to that was extremely negative. And that was one of the biggest, I think, takeaways from the AAR that night was when you get to a point in your life where you think you're done doing whatever it is you were supposed to be doing, and either because of mistakes that you made or potentially mistakes that other people have made or something, circumstance outside of your control. You think you're done with this job, but then all of a sudden you realize you're not. The way that you respond to that is, it's important, and it tells a lot about kind of who you are, at least at that point in your life. And so if you hit that point where you think you're done, but then you realize you're not really done, the goal is to see that moment as an opportunity. At the basic course, an opportunity to keep training, keep learning, keep moving, even though you're tired, which is that is the grand opportunity to push into new territory or new ground and learn new things about yourself. So the goal is to see those moments as opportunities to continue your growth instead of seeing those moments as a failure and getting poopy pants and being negative about the fact that you thought you were done, but you still actually have a ways left to go. And they took that lesson on board, and I really think that by the end of the third day, and that's the goal, right? By the end of the third day, we could just push, and it would not affect them. They would continue to be hungry and continue to work hard and continue to go really until they just ran themselves into the ground. And they reached that point. So good job, Team 32. Did you guys have any major things that kind of stood out to you from that team that you'd want to share with the listeners out here?
I mean, the most significant thing was just their turnaround was going from what I would have deemed the worst in my recollection to really, like you said, the best that any team has covered that last day. And I thought about that a little bit and thought, did it just really seem better because of how bad they were doing? But it really wasn't. I mean, they were moving.
Were flying.
They were moving. So they took all that they learned, distributed load evenly, communicated. There was lots of conversation going on, and like they really cared about, like, let me know some more about your life. And so all of those things put together, I think that's true. I think that was probably about the best I mean, if we were going down that trail apart from running, we couldn't have moved much faster, if any, than what they were moving. Like with that pack on, that's about what you can do. And so, it was remarkable. I would have never guessed. I would have thought maybe they'd do a little better, just out of the nature of being out there longer. But it's obvious that they put a lot of time and care into, and I mean care. They cared about each other. They started caring about the mission, and a lot of that came from, maybe in some of their minds, what Jay said when you told him pack the tent up. Jay was ticked about that, and he said, if we're going to be graded like this, we better start paying attention.
Yeah.
And it's like, did you not think all along it mattered, And I think at that point they thought, like Chili pointed out, they moved well when the bees were after them. They figured that, and they thought, well, if this is going to cause us some suffering, we're going to get this figured out, because this is bull.
Bee swarm or Chad swarm, either way.
So sometimes you just got to get to that point that you say, this isn't really a game anymore. This kind of really stinks that this is happening, and we don't get it. I've had more of this than I want, so I'm going to really figure this out now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to sum that up, you could say, when you realize that there are consequences to your actions, then all of a sudden you begin to actually apply the things that you know you're going to have to apply in order to move the mission forward.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we get lackadaisical and we operate as if there's no consequences, right?
Yeah.
Or when everything's going good, you don't realize there's consequences.
Yeah.
but that smacks you upside the head and you think, all right, well, I've gained a lot of knowledge over the course of my life or over the first 2 days of the basic course. We better start applying this stuff. Yeah. And it actually works. When you apply it, it actually works.
Right.
Yeah. Do you have anything, CB?
Yeah, that for me, a student that we had trained with multiple times that had done really solid on 2 previous courses and, showed up and seemed like something was missing with him for, a day and a half. And trying to figure that out, I sort of realized, well, a lot of that was just my expectation of what he should have been doing or where he should have been at. And just to see him completely turn around and go past what he was before, and being able to talk to him about that during it. People's dealing with stuff all the time, whether it was from travel to get to where he was at or having to leave home with issues going on and having to work those through there. So just, a selfish lesson that I learned from, or a lesson I learned from myself for is, hey, my expectations of what somebody else should be doing don't exactly mean that joker's not putting forth all the effort, but to see him ramp it up and go way past what I even thought he was capable of was really big too. But I think that Jay thing turned all that around for everyone. The thing with Jay getting upset and whatever they talked about at the water hole, I think helped that student too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anything stand out to you, Chill?
I think you've covered it. I mean, the turnaround is the hallmark of that team,
Certainly.
Because when you really break these down, being 48 to 60 hours or whatever, however long you want to say the mission is from start to finish, that's not if you start real bad, it sometimes you feel like, well, dang, we need more time. It's going to take a while to really, we got to work stuff out. And that was super fast.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a testament to their ability to come together as a team and realize, I think they were able to realize where they needed to improve and what their mistakes were really fast. That can be why that's difficult, is you don't really get it. It's like, you start off bad and you're like, well, yeah, we're not operating real well, but what's the secret? What are we missing? What exactly but I feel like they got it, and then just started implementing it, and it can be that quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The basic course I was thinking out there, I was like, how could I sum up what the basic course is like for future students that might want to apply? And really tying it back to just military training, the basic course is like a small unit tactics course. Is to learn how to work as part of or lead a small unit of people, and to be able to maximize the effectiveness of each person in that unit. Because that's the unique thing about the basic course compared to the rite of passage or compared to the proving grounds, is you're looking at a 6 to 8 man team at the basic course versus, potentially 20 people at a ROP course or a proving grounds. So you can't hide at a basic course. And when you're working with a small unit, every member of that unit has got to bring the full spectrum of their knowledge, skills, and abilities to bear, because they just can't hide in the crowd. They just can't survive. And that is one of the unique challenges for teams at the basic course. is everybody eventually has to come around,
Yeah.
or you don't have to, but if you don't, you are going to have a spotlight on you the entire time.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering about that, that's kind of if you're wondering if you want to come train with us one day, you're wondering what course to sign up with, that's just a little context about how that works. And that's why small unit tactics is one of the most important training blocks for a special operations team, because it's the same way. A SEAL platoon is only 16 guys, and a lot of times you pare that even down to maybe 8 guys, depending on the mission, because you may be split up. And so everyone in a special operations unit has to bring their skill set to bear in order to make the mission successful. We'll probably run maybe a few basic courses next year. So if you guys want that experience, you can check it out on the website. You can go ahead and put your application in. And then when we release next year's date, you'll be at the top of the list for selection if you're interested in that. So, yeah, good mission this weekend, man. It was good to get back out there. We are in Acts chapter 27, second to last chapter of Acts, right?
Yep.
We got one more after this. Good night. All right, before we get in here, we started off the podcast with a lot of joking and having fun. We like to joke and have fun. We're not too serious about ourselves, A lot of religious people are pretty drab. We
What do
like
you call them?
Grab.
No, what's that S word?
Sneeds.
Sneeds?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sneeds.
a lot of religious people get a little sneedy.
Yeah.
We're not like that. We still like to cut up and have fun. But we can be serious too. So we're going to dig into Acts chapter 27, and I guess I'll start us off in prayer. Lord, we thank you so much for the opportunity to sit down today and to study your word. We thank you for everyone who's tunes into the podcast and who is a part of this conversation. We thank you for the faith that you've given us and for the faith that you've given them. Lord, we thank you for the desire that you've put into our heart to learn from your word and to study your word. And Father, we just pray that you would help us in this conversation that we're having here today about the scriptures. And Lord, that you would help those who listen maybe learn something or maybe think about things that we might discuss here today. And we pray that you would just reveal more and more of yourself to us and to everyone listening as we read and talk about your word together. Lord, we thank you for the gospel of our salvation and for the perfect love with which you've loved us. And Jesus, it is in your almighty name I pray and ask these things. Amen. Acts 27, this is quite the account of the Apostle Paul headed to Rome. It's quite a journey, and he encounters a lot of difficulties along the way. And it's a very detailed account too.
Yeah.
I mean, as we have went through the book of Acts, it is quite astounding the amount of detail that is included in this narrative of these events. Now, I've just been wondering, why do you think that this account, this detailed account, is recorded in the scriptures for us to read? Like overarching, what's the purpose of it to you as you read Acts chapter 27?
Well, I mean, I just think of how the Lord told Paul he was going to make it to Rome, and I mean, this is an account of the whole time you're reading it. You're like, well, I mean, he's gonna die. You know, they're not gonna make it, and you read and you see how against all odds he makes it through it. You know, and it's like, I mean, I think it's to show that the Lord was faithful with what he said he was gonna. You know, I mean, you're gonna make it to Rome, and you had to be thinking, or Paul had to be thinking, dang, I'm about to die. I ain't going to make it to Rome, you know.
Certainly everybody around him thought they were about to die.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he didn't question it that much just because he had that much faith. But, I mean, yeah, I think it's a great testament to that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I was reading it too, is he was going to go where the Lord told him he was going to go, but that doesn't mean the conditions of his suffering weren't going to change or even intensify, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that, and that I always like to look at what the author originally intended. He didn't intend us to get that out of it, but that's the Lord using his word. It seems to me it's wild that this, Luke and Acts were written essentially to one man, we suspect, to convince him that these things Luke was involved with and saw and knew, that he wrote all this out to convince one man. And those books were put in here, and we can gain so much from them, but to, and this a lot, I would think, to write all this out, to recall all this, was a pretty big work for Luke to do for one man. And so that would have been his original intent. And I think the detail of this is to help him understand that, hey, I'm not making this up. Like, here's all these places we went through. You know these places. You know where they're at. You get the time of year we were traveling. You get that was a hard trip. And this is what happened. And probably adds to the credibility of everything else Luke has said when Theophilus is reading this. And we can get that from it today. And the Lord can use it to speak to us in many ways. But I thought the same thing as I read through it. And that is what I got out of a lot of it is that, many other, and I guess this can kind of start the going into the chapter, but he lists out all of these different places, and he's using these sailors' terms that you're probably familiar with because you're old Navy head.
Mm-hmm.
The lee side, or what, the under the lee of Cyprus, and
soundings.
Yeah. So he's using all of these terms and stuff. And I just thought many other books were written that are known fallacies, like religious books, like one of them
Gospel of Barnabas.
Yeah, the Gospel of Barnabas is one, and then there's other ones too, but where they're listing out, they might say a mountain and then say it's in this country, but historically that mountain is actually not even anywhere near that country. So by using landmarks and using different country names and stuff, maybe they're not next to each other. So that just, to me, I think I got some of maybe what Luke intended just through reading this is, even though I don't know these places, you can go look on biblical maps and things and say, oh, yep, they're right there. Like, I see how that could have happened. Whereas if you were to go look at a biblical map and say, oh, those aren't anywhere close to each other. If he lied about this, what else did he lie about? So maybe that's what his intentions were for his original audience, but that's kind of what I got out of it, was just the adding to the credibility of what we already believe and know about the gospel through our faith in Christ, but also through the credibility of the writers that the Lord gave inspiration to write these scriptures in the first place.
Yeah, the detail in this account is remarkable, down to the number of men that were on the ship, the water depth, the wind direction, the landmarks, the coastlines. I guess overarching for me, this is just a very sharp account of great struggle and difficulty, great fear, great anxiety, great all of these things that the Apostle Paul was having to deal with. It's an account of all. It's an account of what you are going. Hopefully, you won't experience anything this bad, but things that we all in the Christian life are going to encounter: difficulty, fear, anxiety, struggle, confusion, chaos, all this stuff. And I don't know, it's encouraging when I read this account and kind of imagine and picture it in my mind of like, man, the Apostle Paul and these people with him in the early church. This is just one example of the Apostle Paul's struggle, but it's just another example of what they went through for the sake of the gospel. And it encourages me, and I think it calls me up to just kind of a different standard and expectation. All right, are you starting us off, Blake?
Yeah. So Luke starts out here again with the word "we," right in the first few words of verse 1, meaning that he was a part of this journey. It was decided that we should set sail for Italy. So we're just finishing up. Basically, the officials say, Paul, you would have been cleared if you hadn't appealed to Rome. Now they're setting on their voyage to Rome. Luke's a part of this, and this man named Julius is kind of I guess he's over he's kind of in control of the prisoners and the people that would have been on the ship. And he was pretty friendly to Paul, gives him some, probably some freedoms that he shouldn't have had when they would come to port. And is also, we'll see later on, he's kind of the one who keeps all the prisoners from being killed. When we read on into chapter 27. But they kind of, in this first 9 verses, there's a few different legs of the trip here. So they set sail, they head out, and they come to port after that first day, and that first leg was really, Luke doesn't note any problem with that. It says, embarking in a ship of, I'm not even sure how to say that word, which was about to sail to the ports along the coast of Asia. We put to sea, accompanied by Aristarchus, a Macedonian from Thessalonica. So that's the first leg, no problem. The next day we put in at Sidon, and Julius treated Paul kindly and gave him leave to go out to his friends and be cared for. So Julius is letting essentially a prisoner say, hey, if you want to go see your friends here, go see them. So I'm sure Paul's thankful for that. And then they put out to sea for their next leg. From there, they sailed under the lee. What's the lee of Cyprus?
Like the calm side.
Okay. So they're on the calm side of Cyprus because the winds were against them. So they're starting to encounter this weather that's coming along here. And they sailed across the open sea and across the coast of all of these other places that Luke is noting again with the detailed account. And I guess they run into some problems trying to find the right ship, maybe big enough or going to the right place. But it says that he found a ship of Alexandria sailing for Italy. They all get aboard, and they sailed slowly for a number of days and arrived with difficulty off of Cnidus. And the wind did not allow us to go further.
Whoa, that was a cornbread moment.
Cnidus.
Yeah, I couldn't say that either.
The weather's starting to kick up here. Luke's with them. They're on their second or third leg here. And they're coming under the calm side of Crete, coasting along it with difficulty. We came to a place called Fair Havens, which was near the city of Lasea. Since much time had passed and the voyage was now dangerous because even the fast was already over. Paul advised them, and someone else is going to pick up here in a minute. But this is basically where Paul is telling them, look, things are getting a little bit too hard. The weather's rough. He's recognizing what's going on, and he's about to tell them the northeaster is blowing in. This is a bad idea. But not a lot happens in these first few verses of the opening. Luke is really just making known the fact that he was there. Talks about Julius giving Paul a little bit of leeway to go do some things. And again, I think that the main point of this, to me, what stood out in these first few verses are the detail that Luke uses of the places, the way that they traveled, the time of year it was, all to, I don't know if that's what the original audience would have gotten, but all to me to give credibility to everything that he had said and was to come, that it was legitimate, it was reasonable to believe that, and if you don't believe so, go look at the map and get familiar with the time of year and the sailing and where you would have went. He couldn't have imagined all of those details and put that story together had it not actually happened. So moving into 10 is really where Paul begins to give them their warning against what he thinks is a bad idea that they end up doing.
Yeah, they are sailing at a, like, it's funny to think now because we can just travel anywhere we want at any time of the year now, right? We can just jump in an airplane, or even in these big ships. We got these cruise ships and crap. We got these engines and all this stuff. But back when you were dependent on the wind and the weather to get to where you were going, there was only a short window of the year. Basically, your ability to travel at sea safely was very seasonal.
Yeah.
And so they're taking this trip at a already a very dangerous time to travel, which might be hard for us to grasp, but that was the reality of their ability to get around using a boat.
Yeah, and
back then,
I think the weather over there is probably a little more predictable than it is here. It's, it seems like all year round. Here it could rain or it could not rain. It could be windy or it could not be windy. It could be warm in the winter and be cool in the summer. Like, it's just kind of all up, random, so to speak. They're general things, but it seems that the winds and the time that they come through and the time the storms happen on the other side of the world seem to be much more predictable. I don't know if it's because of the way that the land lays or what would cause that, but
it's predictable here too. We just don't pay attention to it anymore.
Well, I don't know that it's as predictable as it. I mean, you have, when you talk about, you got hurricane season, you got tornado season. You predict that, I guess, but it might rain in February and just as much as it might rain in October.
Yeah. I thought about the way they were getting on these ships too. I mean, they just didn't get on a Roman ship and go so far and, dock and get supplies and go further, dock and get supplies. Like, they were having to find ships. And I wonder how that looked if Julius just rolled up to somebody and said, "Hey, which way you're going?" And they said, "Well, we're going this way." And he says, "Well, I'm the Roman dude, so we're getting on your ship with you."
Yeah, that's how I imagined him being in the port, figuring out what's going where.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like you said, Paul starts to tell him, "Hey, man, we're going to have some great damage here to the ship, to our stuff, but probably to our lives."
Yeah.
And obviously he's concerned about it and trying to give a warning. You wonder who else was talking. There's a lot of people on this ship. Like, it does say that the centurion who he was appealing to was more persuaded by the pilot and the captain with their opinion. Yeah. But you did wonder how many people were talking and how many other crew members were like, or prisoners were like, "Dang, let's not do this. We're about to die," or what they were thinking. It's interesting. We're in the Mediterranean Sea, which I think is worth noting. And I'm certainly not an expert of the Mediterranean Sea, but I did look up when is you can go take you a sailing trip to the Mediterranean Sea right now. There's Greek yachts that go run around there. There's big sailing.
Yeah, these islands are beautiful. Crete is a beautiful island.
You've been to Crete?
I've been to Crete. Yeah.
And peak season for sailing is July, August. And then we're here estimated to be maybe more in October. A little later in the year, it's getting rough.
Yeah.
At least the way it is now. I mean, I'm assuming it's about the way it was then, Once it gets to October, you don't be doing all that sailing and stuff. So Paul was warning them of that. But again, there was other opinions. The pilot and the captain, they had a different way of viewing things.
Well, they also had profit in mind.
Oh yeah,
the pilot and the captain.
Yeah, look, they just want to push on. I mean,
I'm sure they're getting paid for hauling these prisoners and whatever.
I'm not saying they didn't think it was dangerous, but they didn't care.
They got to make that money,
and they didn't want to spend the winter in the harbor either.
Yeah, well, the harbor was not suitable for wintering. Did they teach you about wintering in the Navy?
No,
they didn't.
No.
Okay.
To Chad's point, the little bit of research I did on this section right here, they was probably hauling grain from Egypt and for profit.
Yeah.
More than likely.
Had to get it there on the timeline.
Yeah.
But anyway, they reached a decision, put out to sea from there, and then the wind started coming. It started with a moderate south wind came up.
Which is good.
Yeah, and I like that. Supposing they had attained their purpose, they weighed anchor and began sailing along creek close inshore. So, yeah, I mean, they were. Yeah, I mean, this is skipping kind of decently large gaps of time. But again, now we know the plan and know where they're headed, and it's against what Paul thinks should happen. And before too long, a violent Uraquillo, which is essentially, I guess, a wind, a northeast.
Northeaster.
A northeast wind. So
Uraquillo.
That's definitely not a Navy term.
That's what they didn't teach you about that in the Navy. Okay, well that was the colloquial term for that. And they all knew what was happening and knew that's not good. And the ship got caught in it, and they gave way to it, and were essentially just being driven along by it, not able to do much about it. So then that's pretty much when the panic started. They sought shelter at a small island called Clauda. That's what they called it here. That would be known today as Gavdos, island of Gavdos. That's a point you can go visit. It's like the southernmost point of what's still considered Europe, just for where we're at geographically. But it says they were barely able to get the ship's boat under control. They hoisted it up. They used supporting cables and undergirding the ship. It is amazing to think of if you want to call it technology, what all the materials they had of these ships. I mean, we're talking about a long time ago. This didn't look like no super yacht today.
Yeah.
But it was still, I mean, they were making it work, But yeah, undergirding the ship, they fear that they might run aground on the shallows of Syrtis, which again is not good. They let down the sea anchor, and again, we're kind of just being driven along by this wind. This wind was controlling them more than they were able to really do what they wanted. So
it says Syrtis was a sandy shoal off the North African
coast, it's close to Libya,
with the reputation of graveyard of ships.
Yeah, that's still today. I mean, it's
really?
off the coast of Libya. Yeah. again, Mediterranean Sea. I mean, you're talking a huge. You kind of can pinpoint where we're at geographically, but that sea's like the dang ocean, man. I mean, it's Spain border, like Spain has a shore on the Mediterranean Sea. France, Italy, Greece, Libya, the North African countries, the Middle. I mean, it's huge. It's like 21 countries that have some shoreline on the Mediterranean Sea. You know, but the next day after the Syrtis running aground on Syrtis, they were violently storm tossed, and they began to jettison the cargo. Now, are you familiar with jettison from the Navy?
Yeah, I mean, all the time I spent on ships while I was in the Navy. It's an important procedure to have ready to jettison your cargo to lighten the ship up, you know?
Yeah, but
especially on like big aircraft carriers, destroyers.
But in all seriousness, I mean, that when do you reach the point? I mean, that's a big decision, is it not?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
there goes your profit.
Yeah. Like,
throw your stuff over.
You know, when do you make that decision? I mean, that has to be right when you think, if we don't do this, we're all going to die, because like you can't be doing that. But they obviously they were pretty. This was getting pretty intense. I mean, for enough to do that, and on the third day, so I mean, my gosh, this is going on a while.
It's a big storm.
They threw the ship's tackle overboard with their own hands.
That's it. This says the tackle may have been the beam that supported the mainsail.
Yeah, I mean,
you're getting desperate when you go to throw your beams.
They're lightening this thing up.
It says neither the sun nor stars appeared for many days, and no small storm was assailing us. Yeah, this was clearly major.
When was the compass invented?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
I wonder if they were sailing with a compass, or if they were using stars and stuff.
Yeah, I thought that when I read that
in their navigation, because neither the sun or stars were visible. That get rough if that's your navigation.
Yeah,
you don't know where you're going.
Right.
1088 A.D. was the earliest recorded use of a magnetic compass specifically for navigation, and it was documented by the Chinese scientist Shin Ku during the Song Dynasty. So they didn't have a compass.
No, they were going by the stars.
They were navigating based off of stars, and
definitely not. But anyway, once the storm had been going on that bad for that many days, and they started throwing all their stuff overboard, and potentially even their ability to move much, they all abandoned hope of being saved, except for maybe Paul.
Yeah.
Well, people probably wondering, it's so hard for this to register with us. They're out here getting battered by this storm, and people think, why don't they just pull this thing up to the darn dock and get off of this thing, right? Well, they don't have control of the ship. You can't steer the dang ship in the midst of a storm. They can only steer the ship if they have the right conditions, the right wind, stuff like that. So
you're sailing, man.
Yeah, you can't just pull this thing up onto the shore and hop off the Jewel. Yeah, because the waves are breaking near the shore too. You got to pull into a harbor. If you just pull the boat up onto a beach somewhere, the waves are going to tear the ship to pieces.
And they're hundreds of miles from the coast at points here. I'm looking at the map with the scale and their suspected path. I mean, you look at the Mediterranean Sea on a map and you say, there's islands here, they got Africa here, Asia, and you say, it's not that big, but it's hundreds of miles across that. And if you've been out in the ocean, maybe 40 miles, you're not seeing land anymore because the curvature of the earth.
Well, and it's actually safer to sail further offshore. It's safer to take a boat out into deep water than to try to hug a coastline, because obviously around the landmass you have all these underwater obstacles that can sink the ship. You have shoals, you have all these different converging currents and stuff that are being shaped and moved by that landmass. So the safer option is always, if you're going to sail, like, get off the shore, get out into deep water where you're not worried about running your boat aground.
There's no, my point in saying that is that there's no just pulling over to the shore when the storm blows up.
Yeah.
Is that.
It is amazing, like I said, the technology. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around like what they had, you know, from this period or around this period. I mean, we're talking 2,000 years ago. I mean, they had ships that were the size of football fields. They called them like Caligulas, palaces, like floating palaces. I mean, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And some of these, you know,
You remember how big Noah's boat was?
well, yeah. I mean, think about that and how long ago that was. Yeah, I mean, I just don't even. If I had to build a boat, I couldn't make something that floats. Is what I'm saying. And yeah, they had ships bigger than the dang what we got now. You know,
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
It's interesting how you're talking about, you know, it's safer to be deeper out into the ocean and whatnot. When every time we go deep sea fishing, like, and I'm watching the land, and once that land gets gone, that in my mind, that's like, well, something goes wrong. That's it now.
Dead.
Like, I can't see the shore.
Yeah.
As if I could swim that far anyway. But nonetheless, that's just how my mind works. When I can't see the shore, then it's all right, this is real now.
Yeah.
Something goes wrong, we're here. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we're in the dangerous part now because I can't see the shore.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember when we paddled the Altamaha, when we came out of the river and went out into the Atlantic, and we were skirting Wolf Island, headed over to
Doughboy Sound.
I don't know if you remember, but we were like hundreds of yards from the beach, and the water was like 2 inches deep.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that
Yeah.
or not. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about getting out
Uh-huh.
because I was tired of kayaking.
You know.
Well, all right. So by this point, it said when many had lost their appetite. So I'm sure from the boat doing everything it's doing, swaying and froing, and plus maybe anxiety and fear.
It's, anxious.
Well, they're probably running out of food.
They didn't have no
mean-
They didn't have no
These jokers
popcorn.
are seasick.
Yeah.
They didn't have no popcorn.
Paul then stood among them and said, "Men, you should have followed my advice and not set sail from Crete, and thereby spared yourself this damage and loss." So all that's going on, he said, "See,
Told you.
I tried to tell y'all. And yet now I urge you to keep up your courage, for there will be no loss of life among you, but only of the ship. For this very night an angel of God, to whom I belong, whom also served me, came to me, saying, 'Do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand before Caesar, and behold, God graciously granted you all those who are sailing with you.'" So I could imagine, now we don't really know the total number of people that were on this boat, so who knows if everyone heard him when he was saying this, what they were thinking when he said this. "Therefore keep up your courage, men, for I believe that it will turn out exactly as I told you." So he's saying, we're all going to live, but the ship ain't going to make it. And in my mind, I was thinking, if I was there now, how in the world am I going to live if the ship ain't going to make it? Like, how?
Also, you'd have been thinking this dude's a kook.
Yeah.
Like, look at this going on right now. What are you talking
We've
about?
been in this for days.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the stars or the sun for days. So then he moves on and said, "But we must run aground on a certain island." But when the 14th night came, as we were being driven about to the Adarac Sea, about midnight, the sailors began to expect they were approaching some land. So now they're thinking they're getting pushed closer and closer to land. And they took soundings. I'm sure you know about this, Chad, but they dropped down ropes, I'm assuming,
You've taken soundings, hadn't you?
with weights, I guess is probably the only way they was able to do it back then.
Well, I am actually an expert in hydrographic reconnaissance.
And hydro what?
Hydrographic reconnaissance.
Okay.
How about an Adirondack Sea?
Yeah, I can map out the seafloor, and actually draw it out with a lead weight and a string with some knots tied in it,
Oh yeah, I've heard you say
and a
that.
little slate, a little piece of slate to write on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can map out the whole seafloor,
yeah.
draw it out. So
Did you say the Adirondack Sea?
I did. Adriatic.
Adriatic.
yeah, they didn't have a depth finder on this boat.
Yeah, no, they didn't have a depth finder at all. And they found it to be 20 fathoms. And a little further on, they took another sounding and found it to be 15 fathoms. So they were indeed getting shallower, closer to land. Fearing that we might run aground somewhere on the rocks, they cast 4 anchors from the stern and prayed for daybreak. So they'd already cast 1 anchor, right, to slow it down. Now they cast 4 more, trying to slow the boat down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as the sailors were trying to escape from the ship and had let down the ship's boat into the sea on the pretense they were going to lay out anchors from the bow. So he had told them everybody's going to live, but some of them's ready to abandon ship. They're starting to lower down the little boat to get into it. Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, unless the men remain on the ship, you yourselves cannot be saved.
Yeah, where'd he get that technicality?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, like, that's what I wondered. I mean, if the angel appeared to him and said, all these men with you will be saved, it's like, what? It didn't say that they had to stay on it to be saved, or I didn't think so.
Right.
Well, if the sailors were trying to escape, are those the ones in control of the ship running that? The sailors? Maybe he's saying, if y'all leave, we ain't gonna be able to.
I think the sentiment of what Paul's trying to get at right here to these people is, look, I've done told y'all we're all going to be all right, and basically what you're doing is you're trying to buck that plan. Like,
yeah.
you don't have any faith in what I'm telling y'all. Like, you're trying to all run away. Hey, if you do that, you're going to die. Like I've told y'all, you're going to be all right if you stay here. All right. And why they believed him, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But they ended up believing him. He convinced them that, hey, if y'all will stay here, I've told you you're going to be all right. Now, if you leave here, I can't do nothing for you at that point.
Yeah.
Well, this does say that the sailors were the ones that controlled the ship, and such a selfish action would have left no one on the ship with the skill to handle it, leading to much loss of life. So Paul warned the centurion of the sailors' plan, and he stopped them.
Then the soldiers cut away the ropes of the ship, and it fell away.
Dang.
Soldiers
Jettisoned
came over and
that,
said,
too.
"No, the soldiers said, y'all ain't leaving," and cut it away.
Well, here we see what we were talking about earlier. The reason these sailors were getting so ready to like jump ship at this point is because they were nearing land. And
Right.
these sailors knew that it's dark outside, we're nearing land, we're about to get washed up on the rocks, and we're all going to die. So they're feeling this anxiety as they see the water getting shallower and shallower as they're taking their fathoms. It's amazing to me the amount of visions and revelations that Paul received in his lifetime. I mean, just this revelation, this visitation from this angel, this one example out of so many that we read about in the book of Acts, that an angel appears to him and gives him this information. It's like, I don't know, man. What a life, dude. What a life. And I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but there is like a large group of people that claim Christianity who essentially work to discredit Paul, the Apostle Paul, because we get so much of Christian doctrine from the letters that Paul wrote, and there's a large percentage of people who don't like the things that the Apostle Paul wrote.
Yeah.
They don't like it. And there's a huge movement to discredit everything. Basically, the case is that the Apostle Paul taught his own version of Christianity, and what the Apostle Paul teaches in his letters in terms of doctrine to the early church is in contradiction to what Jesus taught in his ministry. So look out for that if you see that.
Well, I mean, with a figure like Paul, he's going to be very polarized, and he was during his life, and he is now. I mean, there's going to be people that have a tendency to daggum almost worship Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, even today, like take what Paul did and what he has to say.
Paul
Like,
said, you hear that all the time.
Yeah, like in a way that maybe can go too far, and you saw people have a tendency to do that during his lifetime, and he'd fall to worshiping him, thinking he must be some kind of, and then you're going to have people who, like the exact opposite. I mean, I think any figure like that, they're a, the phrase polarizing and you love them or hate them is kind of an overused thing, but I mean, yeah, he's very influential, and it's polarizing is the word, So I think you got to measure how the whole thing from both sides.
Well, the vision that the Apostle Paul, or the revelation the Apostle Paul received from the angel, was getting ready to come to fruition, and the Apostle Paul sees that, and he tells everyone on the ship, go ahead and eat you a bite. I know y'all ain't been eating because your stomach's been upset. Maybe, whatever. You ain't felt like eating. You've been conserving food because you don't know how long you're going to be stuck out here on this boat. That all makes sense. He says he basically says this is all about to be done here. This ship's about to be done. What I told y'all was going to happen is about to happen. Eat you a bite. Take some food. This is for your salvation. You're going to need some food in your belly. You got something hard that you're about to have to endure. And he reminds them again, not a hair from your head is going to perish. So he takes some bread, gives thanks to God in front of everybody. These aren't believers, but the Apostle Paul gives thanks to God in front of everybody. He breaks it. They all begin to eat. And they have a bit of a morale boost right here. Food will do that to you, especially if you ain't been eating much. They have a morale boost. He gives the number of the people that were on the ship, 276 people. That's a lot of people on a boat.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a pile of people on this dang boat.
That many people on a boat back then just start dying from any old thing.
Yeah.
Got a cut on your foot. Well, you out.
That's a lot of folks to be on a darn boat. And after they had eaten enough, so they got a belly full of food, they began to jettison and throw out even their food stores into the ocean. So at this point, at least it seems like the majority of people are listening to Paul. And I can kind of understand that, because at this point, this ship is in pure chaos. I mean, these people are losing their daggone minds. And here's one person on the ship that's like, it's going to be all right, guys.
Well, he's giving them hope.
Yeah.
They have lost all hope, even in themselves and their capability. And they said, he still has some hope, but maybe that'll work.
Yeah.
What other choice do we got?
The light of the Holy Spirit is shining real bright right now. From Paul to these people in this really dark place and dark situation where they're feeling hopeless. And so they're all drawn to that light.
That's kind of our salvation in Christ. We're like the people on the ship who have realized we're out of control of this thing.
Certainly.
Now. What other choice do I have? This seems really odd and crazy, but I'm going to give it a shot.
That's it, man. That's what's happening right here. And the day finally broke, which is what they had been praying for, so that at least if we're going to run this ship aground, we can at least see whether we're going to run it up on a darn big old cliff, or we've got some kind of beach or somewhere that we can actually swim up and climb up onto the land out of. The day breaks. They don't recognize the land. They don't know where they're at, but they see a beach. All right, they see a little bay with a beach, and they think, all right, well, how about that?
Yeah.
If we're gonna run this thing aground, well, here's the perfect spot. And they're ready to burn the boat now, son. They cast off the anchors and just let the sea basically
Beach them.
drive them into this beach. All right. They use the sail where they can. They're trying to steer in that direction. But again, close to land, crazy things happen. Before they get to the beach, they strike a reef where two seas met. All right. So this is going to be a spot where where two seas meet. It causes like two currents coming together. It's just a very tumultuous spot. We saw that in the kayaks right there coming out of the Doughboy Sound. Those shoals,
The confluence, and
it goes crazy. It's a really dangerous spot to be in, and they get caught in there where two seas met. The vessel runs aground on the reef, and the ship is stuck. The stern begins to be breaking up because of the waves. Now they're immobile. These waves are coming in, and it's tearing the ship to pieces. This is a really violent spot. Well, the soldiers' plan was to kill the prisoners. Here again, they see this hope that Paul has. They're all drawn toward this light and this hope that he has that everyone is going to be saved, but they're still in their flesh. They're still trying to rebel against this. They still haven't submitted to the hope that Paul is giving to them.
At this point, why were they worried about the dang prisoners escaping?
That's what I thought.
I mean, who cares?
Paul's one of the prisoners.
They're just in panic mode, dude.
Like, who cares?
Well, probably if they go back and say, hey, all these prisoners got away,
they'd be dead.
They're going to be killed.
Yeah, that's another thing. We've talked about that in the past, how strict the Roman rulers were on, Roman soldiers. But the centurion, who was wanting to bring Paul safely through, I'm imagining they had some sort of good relationship, and I think we saw that earlier on in chapter 27. He stopped them from doing that, stopped the soldiers from killing the prisoners, and ordered that those who can swim, so that wouldn't be cornbread.
No,
all right?
He would be second off the ship.
All right? Those who could swim, the ship's getting broke up. We're beached on this reef right here. This thing going down. If you can swim, jump overboard and get to that beach.
That'd have been a wild time to be on that ship.
Headed to the beach.
Yeah. All right? And the rest of the people who can't swim, you come on behind us. The ship's breaking up. Grab a hold of a plank of this wood and float in to this beach, all right? Just kick your legs, all right?
We could have told Corn, point your head out to sea and swim.
Yeah, and because when Corn tries to swim, he goes backwards, all right? So the rest of the people who can't swim get a hold of planks and whatever else, various things from the ships, probably some daggone barrels and whatever else they had on there that will float.
Whatever they had left.
And they made their way, and they were all brought safely to the land, which is quite a miracle in and of itself. It is a miracle in and of itself, because if you've ever been caught in the ocean in a spot like this where two currents are converging and there's a shoal or a reef or something like that, it is no easy feat to swim your way through that turbulent water and actually go in the direction you want to go.
You can't. It had to just be where it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
and not just get taken out whichever way the current ends up going.
And the fact that 276 made it to shore is even more miraculous.
Yeah.
And some
It
of them
is.
couldn't swim.
Yeah, that's a lot of folks. And they end up landing on the island of Malta. And we're going to learn about what goes down on the island of Malta in chapter 28. So, again, an account of great fear, great uncertainty, great struggle, anxiety, but also an account of what it looks like when there's one man with the Holy Spirit of Christ in him and a word from God, standing firm on the promises of God, and what that one man can be used to do in a situation, even among pagans, even among complete non-believers, if he will but stand on the promises of God. So, pretty cool account, pretty cool chapter right there. And we'll pick up and work through the last chapter of Acts, Lord willing, next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Enough said.